All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my first ever build video in Elder Scrolls Online. Now, this this video is hard for me to do because this build of my Dragonknight, which I'm going to be showing you guys in full today, is something that I've kept very secret and close to the vest for quite a while. It's a build I'm very proud of. It's one that I've used for months and months now. With occasional adaptations and changes, but for the most part, this build has withstood the test of time, and by that I mean it's sort of withstood the test of, like, you know, different patches coming out, nerfing different things, changing different skills, buffing different things, etc, etc. The game sort of evolves and changes over time, but I've been really pleased with sort of how this build has held up for me, both in PvE and PvP. So, like I said, this is something that I've been keeping very secret because I've been very proud of it. It's one of the most unique builds, like, I feel like is out there. I honestly feel like this is one of the most unique Dragonknight builds you will ever see. And I thought that with 1.6 coming out, 1.6 just hit the playtest server yesterday. I've gotten to see, I don't have the PTS yet. I'm probably gonna start downloading it today. But watching live streams and stuff, I've got to say that the game is changing for the better, and it's really getting a huge update. 1.6 is an absolutely massive update. Combat is different, skills are different. They're adding a champion system, they're adding the justice system, they're adding a provisioning revamp, they're adding all of this new content that this game is going to get so much better. It is already one of my all-time favorite games. I have so much fun with this game, but it is going to be just absolutely amazing. And due to the fact that so much seems to be changing in 1.6, I felt that it was time to release my build. Because this build, you know, it's a 1.5, we're in 1.5 now, and I don't know, you know, how much longer this build will be the same as it is right now. I'm gonna try and see if it'll carry over into 1.6, but with the champion system coming out, and the new Constellation UI, as well as like all the different new passes you can get from that, things might change quite a bit, and so I will probably do an updated build video when that comes out. But I wanted to do a 1.5 video today, so here we go. I hope this video isn't too long, but if it is, that's okay. So my build is called the Blood Knight. Now I know that's on the Battle Master's Corner for Elder Scrolls Online on their website. They feature a fan-made build, you know, every other week or something like that. One of the more recent ones was called a Blood Knight, and that was like some Templar build or something. I've always called this build my Blood Knight, so if I happen to get featured on ESO's webpage under their Battle Master's Corner and this build does get featured, I'll have to pick a different name. But that's what I've been calling it since probably about May, I think. I sort of started putting this build together back in May, so like a month after the game released. So let's talk about some different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is stats. So my name is Chimney Swift. I'm a Nord Dragonknight in the Ebonheart Pact, and I decided to film this in Ebonheart here because I thought it felt appropriate, and this lava fall behind us is absolutely gorgeous. So, so stats. I'm a Dragonknight, as you know. I'm veteran rank 14, and I'm a vampire, so that's very important. I've always felt that vampire has been just about as much of a class to me as Dragonknight is, and I'll explain a little bit why later. But I got vampirism like the first week and a half after the game launched, and I never cured it and never gotten rid of it. So I'm not like a flavor of the month type person. I've literally been, I'm like a hipster, man. I've rode through the thick and thin, you know, like I've been like this since the beginning. So this has been, this is a treat for me to share this with you guys. So without food, this is a buff without food, or this is my stats without food, okay? And this is with my bow. So we're looking at, maximum magicka is about 1860, or it is about 1800, but it's 1860. Max health is 2384. Max stamina is 1409. My magicka regen, you want this soft cap for this build because we're gonna be using a lot of mana. The whole point of this build is that it keeps you alive. It's a high survivability build, and that's sort of the premise behind the build, is that I want to stay alive, right? Like in PvP, because I built this build mostly for PvP, but I found out that it was actually really good for PvE as well, and quite a bit fun to use. So yeah, the whole, like, my mindset going into this build as I was sort of creating it and creating it, you know, along the way as I was leveling up my character was, how do we stay alive? How do we do sustainable damage? Not the highest amount of DPS, but how do we do sustainable damage over time and stay alive while doing that? And that's what this build is all about. So we need high magicka regen. Health regeneration is going to be a little bit lower due to the fact that we're a vampire. As a vampire, your health regenerates 75% slower because I'm in stage 4. If you feed often and you stay in stage 1, you won't really have that. Your health regen is going to be quite a bit better. But if you see right there on the tooltip, your vampirism abilities cost 20% less to cast. That's huge, and that is 21% less in stage 4. So I always stay in stage 4. Stamina regen is 80, which is pretty good. It's not terrible. I wish I could get it a little bit higher, but I just don't really have the means to do that. I've sort of run out of options at this point. My spell damage is 114, and my weapon damage is 141. My spell crit and my weapon crit, they're not super high, but they're both about equal, which is really, really nice because I use a mix of both spells and weapon attacks. So having those sort of like at an even playing field sort of gives me the same reliability when I'm using both spells and weapon crits, because crits can help not only do more damage, but they can also help build your ultimate. Spell resistance is like totally soft cap. This is awesome. This is a huge part of the build. You know, being able to stay alive against spells. So, you know, spell resistance, like it says here, decreases the amount of damage you take from spells. You want this soft cap. And our armor is at 1117. I've got a fully maxed out horse. I wish it was in full speed, but early on in the game, I put a couple points into stamina, not really realizing what I was doing. Stamina is not bad, but I wish I had put it all into speed, which would have given me 65% speed, but 60% is great. I like having a fast horse, and I like being able to move around the battlefield in Cyrodiil or PvE whenever I want. My Mundus Stone is the Thief, and these other active effects are just, I'm a vampire. Supernatural Recovery is a vampire passive, which actually gives you higher 10% increase to magicka regen and stamina regen, but we'll talk about that stuff later. Now the food we're gonna be eating today is consummate honey brittle. So this is a VR5 food, it's a top level food, and it's purple. I'm a provisioner, so I make it myself. I actually do all the crafting myself, which is really, really helpful. Saves me a lot of money. So this increases your max health, magicka, and stamina by 385 for 2 hours. So when I eat this, you'll see that my health now is at 2781. My magicka is at 2117, and my stamina is at 1666. So that helps quite a bit, increasing primary stats there. So did I mention my boon? Yeah, I have the Thief. That's gonna increase my chance for critical hit. So it just bumps up my my crits for spell and weapon crit a little bit. All right, now the next thing, as a Nord, this is very important. When you're playing the game, and I wanna do some guides on like starting out and how to, you know, like important tips for a new player. I'm gonna probably be doing videos on that soon because there's gonna be a lot more people coming to this game now that it's getting, first of all, even better, and it's gonna be coming to consoles in June. There's gonna be a whole lot of new players that are coming in. But I wanna talk about passives because they're very important, especially racial passives. And when I first started this character, Nords have always been my favorite race in Elder Scrolls, in the Elder Scrolls games in general. So I wanted to pick a Nord for my first character, and I did. And I was really, really happy with my choice, but along the way, one of these passives got changed, and that was this passive here, Rugged. So Rugged used to just give you flat armor base, but then they patched it and they changed it, and now Rugged actually reduces your incoming damage by 6%. So just no matter what damage you're taking, physical damage, spell damage, whatever, Rugged, this is a huge passive. And like I said, this build is all about keeping you alive. So if we can reduce our incoming damage by 6%, that is absolutely huge. So I've got all these maxed out. So it comes with, you know, being Nord comes with two-handed weapon expertise. I'm not using two-handed here. We are bow and dual wield DK. Robust. This increases our health recovery while in combat by 30%. Now, I still think this passive is buggy. Every time I check, I'll get in combat and then I'll press this and I won't see this number ever go up from 30. So 30% would be, I don't even know, I can't do math, but you should see this bump up by a little bit. I think this passive is still bugged, and I've sent in a couple tickets about it before, but I haven't really seen it patched yet. But ideally, if it is working, your health regeneration while in combat will increase by 30%. Well, this is great. Ideally, on paper, this is great because as a vampire, we already have 75% less health regen. let's cut 30% out of that 75% because now we have 40, so it'd be like 45% reduced, right? So this sort of helps fight your vampirism a little bit, technically, at least in combat if it's working, like I said. Next we have resist frost. Frost is something you don't encounter in this game all too often, though I do wish you encountered it more. Fire is like one of the most prevalent things in this game, and as a vampire that can make things a bit hard because you do take 50% more damage to fire. However, I would love to see more cold damage in this game. I'd love to see cold get some more love, just to balance things out a bit, but also to give Nords a little bit more love with this passive here. So this thing gives me just cold resistance for 1575, and it increases my maximum health by 3%. So that's great. So all these passives are really, really helpful. Next thing I want to show you guys are skills. So on my second bar, I use a bow, and on my first bar, I use dual wield daggers, okay? So skills, let me go through the first bar. Now keep in mind, all of this is about staying alive. So I'm a Dragonknight, I've got all my skill lines maxed out. Draconic Power, Ardent Flame, Earth and Heart are all maxed out to 50. Weapons, I've got a bow. Who's this creeper back here? This guy's just running around. He was like, his head was poking out right there for a second. That was a little creepy. So bow, maxed out to 50. I really don't use any other of the skills except for Venom Arrow. Get all the passives and all this stuff and dual wield. So I do use Whirling Blades, which I just remorphed. Actually, I'm trying out Whirling Blades. You can use Steel Tornado if you want as well. I'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, this is gonna go down here because this is the real build. Flying Blade, love this one. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing here. So get all the passives for all this stuff. Make sure you get all light armor passives and medium armor, except for agility. You're not gonna need agility. So you're gonna want all light armor passives. Make sure you level both these up to 50. Get all the passives, medium armor, all the passives, except for agility, okay? Level this up to 50. Heavy armor, we're not using it, so don't worry about it. Also, vampire. This is important. Level this up all the way if you're gonna do this build, and invigorating drain, elusive mist. So let's talk about what we've got here, okay? So the first things first, invigorating drain. This is a vampire ability. Now you'll notice on my first bar, I have out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots, I have half of those are vampire. So as I was telling you guys, vampire feels as much of a class to me as Dragonknight is. This is the exact reason. My main bar is super high survivability, and you know, fair amount of split sustained damage. Oh my gosh, I cannot get that out of my mouth. Split sustained damage, meaning I'm using some stamina and I'm using some magicka. So what this allows me to do is sort of manage my resources a little bit better. Now this build isn't perfect, but you know, that's why I'm here to explain it to you guys. And if you guys have any tips for me, that would be amazing. So let's get started with the build. So the first thing we have here is invigorating drain. This stuns your target for 3 seconds, and it deals 229 magic damage every 1 second over the course of 3 seconds. So do 229 times 3. But I recover with this ability, the player recovers 150% of this damage as health and stamina every 1 second. And I also gain 5 ultimate every 1 second. So I can gain up to a 15 ultimate in the course of this 3 seconds. Now, it has a decent range. It's got 7 meters, so it's an up close range, but the magic cost is really low. This whole bar is about fairly low magic cost at least. So this is 180 for magicka. The only thing about this skill is it cannot be applied to targets which have recently been drained or fed upon. So if I've already used this on someone in battle, I can't use it again on them. This button right here, this skill is the oh crap, I'm either low on health and I'm fighting one guy and it doesn't matter. Or oh crap, I'm low on stamina and I'm still fighting one guy and I need stamina. Or it can also be used to just gain stamina back in a in like PvE or something. When you got a lot of people around and you got a healer, so you don't have to worry about things. But it's a really good move. Opponents can break out of it, but it does come with, this move is awesome. It comes with CC, it comes with damage. It does a CC, it does damage, it heals you and gives you stamina back and ultimate. There's 5 things that this move does in one thing. 5 things that it'll do for you for only 180 magicka. That is huge, and that's why I love this ability. It has saved me countless number of times. Trying to get away from like, you know, a group of people in PvP or something. I run out of stamina, I can't dodge roll, use this ability, and I'm good. And I'm already realizing this video is gonna be really, really long. The next move we have is Flying Blade. Now, I'm a huge fan of snares in this game. Snares piss me off when I'm playing PvP, and I know they make other people mad as well, I'm sure, because they limit how fast you can move. A snare is basically, if you don't know anything about the game, a snare, it slows you down. So this throws a dagger. This uses a stamina. This is my stamina dump. It throws a dagger dealing 342 physical damage, and it adds a 50% snare for 6 seconds. So if I'm trying to chase somebody down in PvP, and they're less than 28 meters away, I'm gonna throw a Flying Blade at them, and I'm gonna come and catch up to them, because they're gonna be running I'm gonna be running twice as fast as them at that point if I don't have a snare on me. So I'm gonna cut their speed in half and catch up to them while also doing damage. Great move. For PvE, I will rotate this with Whirling Blade or Steel Tornado, either one, whichever morph I have going on. This is a slight execute, and it also does AoE damage, which is really nice. All right. So the next thing I want to show you guys is Elusive Mist. This has been one of my favorite skills since I first got this game. I got mad that it got nerfed really hard at the beginning of the game, but it was needed, and it's great now. So this does have a high mana cost, 361. It would be around or over 400 if I wasn't in stage 4 vampirism. So you need to stay in stage 4. This move is a great getaway move, and it's a situational move as well. If I need to go through a keep or go through a specific point where there's gonna be a lot of damage pumping out, I put this on, and you're gonna take 75% reduced damage from all sources, and you gain invulnerability to all healing magic, which means while you're in Elusive Mist, you can't be healed. So that's a downside of it, especially in PvE. You cannot be healed while this lasts for 4 seconds. Now, this is something controversial, and I hope this video gets brought to Zos's attention a little bit, because this is the one thing that's confused me and pissed me off the most about this skill. It says, reduce damage from all sources, and you gain invulnerability to all healing magic and control effects for 4 seconds. It also increases your movement speed by 30%. The controversial thing that I have with this skill, for crying out loud, is it says I'm invulnerable to control effects. If that is so, why every time without fail do I get rooted by Dark Talons in PvP? To me, that's a control effect, and I don't know why, but it's apparently, while in Elusive Mist, you can be rooted and stopped, and that's the only downside about this skill. The tooltip says invulnerability to control effects for 4 seconds, yet I can always be rooted by Dark Talons. I don't know, I would really love a dev to address that and hopefully fix that in the future. I've tried sending in tickets before, but I don't know. It's one of the most frustrating things about this skill, and it really makes me mad because DKs just do that all the time. And I'm not a DK that uses talents, and you might gasp a little bit, but that's fine. I'll tell you why later. Well, actually, I'll just tell you why right now. I hate it. I hate the skill. It makes me mad. Okay, the next thing we have here, very low mana cost, 119 Magicka. This is called Unstable Flame. This is our primary damage dealer, and it's a great damage over time. So up front, it deals 235 flame damage, and it deals 564 flame damage over 10.5 seconds, and the damage is increased by 12% every 2 seconds. So a lot of times in my attacks, I'll go between Flying Blade and this just over and over again, and I don't really let this dot tick away. I'll just kind of reapply this and basically just chip away 235, 235, 235 at the enemy, then 342, 342, and just go back and forth between these. Now, this ability right here, a lot of DKs are gonna be like, dude, you're not using Green Dragon's Blood, what's your problem? I'm using the other morph of it, and I've always used the other morph of it. Green Dragon's Blood would be great because I do run low on stamina. However, I absolutely love this ability. Coagulating Blood. It's a self-heal, and it costs a ton of mana, okay? So it heals for 33% of missing health. So you're gonna get basically the most value out of this skill when you have the lowest amount of health. When you have a lot of health, it's not gonna heal you for very much. It's only 33% of your missing health. So if you have basically 1 health, 1 HP point, and you use this, you're gonna go up to about 32.9 health, right? If you had 0, you'd be dead, but technically if you had 0 and you healed, you would go up to 33%. So this skill is self-balanced. It's a self-balanced skill in that you can use it twice and get, yeah, close to max health, but at what? The cost of like 700 Magicka? So it's a ton. It costs a ton of Magicka. But what I love about this morph is right here. It increases, it heals you for the missing health, increases your health recovery by 40% for 20 seconds, but then this is the morph of it. This is why I picked Coagulating Blood. and it gives you armor and spell resistance for 1500 for 3.5 seconds. So let's look right here at our spell resist and our armor. Now let's pop this, and now look at them. It jacks both of these up big time. So every time I heal for 3.5 seconds following that, I'm taking less damage from all sources, spells and physical attacks. So that is really, really awesome. So we've got a self-heal in this bar, we've got protection, we've got another self-heal here, and stamina gain and damage on this one. And then our ultimate is Devouring Swarm. This is amazing, okay? This is the vampire ultimate. Summons a swarm of bats which surround you and deal 238 magic damage to enemies every 1 second for 6 seconds, and drains 202 health from each target. So that 202 health I get back. So it's dealing magic damage, it's sucking the life from them and giving it back to me. It's an instant heal. Now, the greatest thing about this build is with a passive in Earth and Heart called Battle Roar. So every time I activate an ultimate ability, I restore health, magicka, and stamina, and it restores based on the amount of 70% of the ultimate's cost. So every time I pop an ultimate, I get health, magicka, and stamina back due to this passive. So I technically have 1, 2, 3, and then with the passive 4, technically 4 heals on a bar with 6 abilities. That is awesome. That is so amazing. The other thing I wanted to stress was get all your passives from all your skill lines, every single one. They're really, really good. So that's my first bar. PvE, like I said, I just swapped this out for Whirling Blade or Steel Tornado. And I just leave this bar alone pretty much. The second bar, this is my bow bar. A little bit more range and slightly more utility / support. So what we have here is Venom Arrow. Deals 205 magic damage. I'm gonna try and rifle through this fast because we're already at 23 minutes. Deals 205 poison damage to target. Casting targets interrupted and put off balance and stunned for 3 seconds. Target takes an additional 310 poison damage over 10 seconds. So another dot or damage over time ability. This next one, I feel like I'm the grandfather of this ability because I began using this, I dueled Cypher, he started using it, and then suddenly Fossilize became it became a lot more popular than it was. It's great for 1v1s, and my favorite way to use this is when someone is shield charging me and I hit them with this. It's the perfect and it's an awesome counter to being shield rushed or any type of gap closer. If someone's using a gap closer on you, use this Fossilize. It's hilarious and it's amazing. Whenever I do it, I usually just tell them, I say, no, you slow down for a sec, son. I audibly say that because I'm having so much fun. So what this does is it stuns enemies for 14.4 seconds. If they can't break out of it, they're gonna sit in there. This is also a really good move for PvE. If you're fighting like a couple mobs and one is just pissing you off and you need to lock them down for almost 15 seconds, use this move. So it stuns enemies for 14.4 seconds. Affected targets can take 329 damage before the stun breaks. So it puts like a damage shield on them, but they can't move. So the shield, the ability will break if you've done over 329 damage to that person. And then the enemy's stamina, magicka, and health recovery is decreased by 50%. And then when it breaks, the rocks shatter for 219 magic damage to the target while the effects ends. So it stuns, it puts a damage shield on them, on the enemy, which is fine because we just want the stun, really. So it stuns them, it slows down their stamina, magicka, and health recovery by half, which is absolutely awesome. Because if you hit somebody with this with low stamina and they can't break out of it, it's already gonna cut their stamina regen in half. So they're gonna be sitting there forever waiting for their stamina to come back while I can just sit there, either attack them further, or what I like to do a lot of times is actually use this and then apply my dot on them, because a lot of times people are blocking. I use this, I'll put them in this, and then I'll apply the dot onto them so I can get this damage over time going. But if not, if I'm low on resources too, I can just kind of just dance around. I sit and wait, my stuff's regenerating and theirs isn't, which is really, really cool. Our next move, Stone Giant. I love this one. Not a lot of DKs use it, but I absolutely love it. It deals 273 physical damage and knocks them down for 6 seconds. So another good CC, it's a good knockdown, and it increases the caster's armor by 600 for 8.4 seconds. So it's a boost to my armor as well for almost, like 8.5 seconds, which is really, really good. So I like this ability a lot. It's something that I use if I play a little more stealthy with this character. So if I pick somebody off their horse, I will they'll not only get knocked off the horse, but then I'll run up to them and I will knock them down again with Stone Giant. They will be knocked down for quite a while. So this is a really, really good move, especially for ganking as a DK. The other morph of this has increased range, but I really like the defensive nature of this with the increased armor. Like I said, stay alive. We're all about damage mitigation in this build and keeping yourself alive. You can't do damage if you're dead. Remember that. Fragmented Shield is the next one. This one is a toss-up. I use this when I'm going into battle. When I'm not in battle, I use Retreating Maneuver, okay? Big time speed buff, really, really nice. Costs a lot of stamina, but it's a really, really good move. And I recommend leveling that one up as well. But Fragmented Shield is good also. It creates a 346 point damage shield for 24 seconds on all nearby allies. So this is a great support skill. I use it in PvE all the time, especially in dungeons. The shield strength though is increased 100% on the caster. So I'm getting about, what is that, 680 points of, or sorry, yeah, 680 damage shield on me. And when the effect ends, the caster's shield shatters for 219 magic damage. So it does a little bit of damage, but it can also protect your group. And in dungeons, it can take the stress off the healer a little bit. It costs a fair bit of magicka to cast, but it can take the stress off the healer in dungeons by shielding your whole team. They take damage. Your healer isn't gonna have to heal as much because it's just a damage shield absorbing the damage. The last thing, this is Molten Armaments. I picked this morph because not only does it increase your weapon damage of nearby allies and yourself by 11 for 1.2 minutes, but I received 22 of this. So I gives my allies 11 additional weapon damage. I get 22 of that because I receive an additional 11. Affected targets then gain 30% critical strike chance with weapon attacks for 6 seconds. So if we're in a burn phase on a boss, I will throw this up. If someone's using weapon attacks, they're gonna get an increased 30% critical strike chance. And so it's gonna help with DPS. And it's gonna help with my DPS a little bit as well. So the first 6 seconds that you use it, you get a 30% critical strike chance. Sorry, my voice is getting hoarse here. Our ultimate is Standard of Might, but I've often used Ice Comet, which is the Mage's Guild Meteor ability. Great single target. I wish the damage on this was a little bit higher, but I don't have too much put into spell power. However, Standard of Might. Enemies take 178 flame damage every second and receive 50% less healing for 17 seconds while on the Standard of Might. So if they're standing inside this area, they will take 17%, 50% less healing, and they'll be taking a ton of flame damage. The caster, while standing inside of it, also I will deal 20% more damage and take 20% less damage. So it's a good offensive and defensive ability. And an ally may activate the Shackle synergy, damaging and immobilizing enemies in the area. So this is great. For PvP, I like using Ice Comet a lot. This is really, really good. And it's getting a huge buff in 1.6, it seems. So this one basically shoots a meteor from the sky. It deals 958 cold damage to the target, which I like because I'm a Nord, so that's kind of sweet. I'm dealing you cold damage, yeah. And 480 cold damage to nearby enemies, and then all effective enemies are knocked back and snared for 70% for 8 seconds. So once again, I'm a big fan of snares. That's 8-second snare. Now, one thing I forgot to mention too, anytime you're using a Ardent Flame ability, let's see, Warmth. This passive right here, causing damage with any Ardent Flame ability, causes this, creates a snare for 30% for 4 seconds on the target. So every time I use Unstable Flame on somebody, they're gonna be slowed by 30% as well. So I've got a lot of snares on this bar, or 2 snares here. If they're staying in the Standard of Might, there's a snare there. And Ice Comet does a snare as well. I love snares. So, we've talked about skills, let's talk about equipment. This is one of the most important parts of this. I cannot believe this video has been 30 minutes, good Lord. So, we are running the 5-piece Warlock set. Warlock is really, really good. I've loved Warlock for a long time, although on a Nightblade healer that I'm building right now, I'm actually gonna not use Warlock. I'm trying to do something different for once, because everybody uses the Warlock set. I want to try to not use it. But this build, you need it. It's very, very important. So I have VR12 Warlock gear. what this does, it's a 5-piece set. 2 items adds 11 magicka regeneration. 3 items adds 86 maximum magicka. 4 items gives me another 11 magicka regeneration. And the 5-item bonus is called Magicka Flood. Once per minute, when below 33% magicka, gain 731 magicka. So it basically gives you a third of it back. So what you'll see happen is, like on your bar, it'll go down, and then it'll go, once it gets to 33%, it'll get boosted back up to about 66%. It's awesome, it's great for sustain, and it's really, really useful. And this can happen once per minute, so that's really, really good. So I've got shoulders of the Warlock and helm of the Warlock, or hat of the Warlock, and then over here I have the 3 jewelry pieces, right? So I've got the focus of the Warlock, and which is the neck piece, and my 2 rings are the signet of the Warlock. Now, the enchants on these, I put a glyph of 18 magicka regeneration on this one. I wanted even more magicka regen. Like I told you guys, magicka regen is very, very important. So both bars, you know, whenever I switch, the stats change a little bit, but I've got 138 magic damage the whole time. This bar does have higher health regen, my dual wield bar, but I'll show you why in a minute. Signet of the Warlock. This one is enchanted with spell damage. You can enchant this ring with kind of whatever you want. I felt like I needed more spell damage because I wanted my ultimates to do a little bit more damage. So I put spell damage on this one, but you can put stamina regen, you can put weapon damage, you can put armor, you can put whatever you want on this one. It really doesn't matter. This one though, you do need to have flame resistance on one of your jewelry pieces. It doesn't matter which one, but one of your jewelry pieces needs to have flame resistance. As a vampire, you need it to counteract the 50% more damage that you take from fire. You're still gonna take more than you normally would, but flame resistance is gonna help you with that quite a bit. Now, as for the rest of our gear, we're also running Torg's Pact. So on my dual wield bar, I don't have Torg's Pact 3-piece activated, but I do have the 2-piece. So I have gloves of the Torg's Pact, and I have bow of Torg's Pact. Sorry, I have gloves and breeches of the Torg's Pact. Now this 2-item set, this is a crafted set, so you can make this yourself if you have enough research done. It's gonna add 9 spell damage, so I wanted more spell damage with this build so I could do a little bit more damage. I was doing too much defense, I needed to boost myself a little bit with offense. So I've got 9 spell damage from the 2-piece Torg's Pact. Now, when I switch over to my bow bar, you'll see that now we have the 3-item set, right? So we've got Torg's Pact, gloves, breeches, and a bow. So it's also gonna give me just an added bonus of another 140 health when I am using my bow bar. So that's kind of nice. It just gives you a little bit of health. It's pretty good. Now, the big bad set that I have, first of all, I am running 5 pieces of light armor and 2 pieces of medium armor. So I told you guys earlier, level up your medium armor. So I'm going 5 light, 2 medium. Medium helps a little bit with my stamina regen and weapon crit, stuff like that. And I just think it looks sick because I'm using Dunmer armor, which looks awesome. The really, really important thing about this build is this next set. Now, this next set, I will preface this by saying, 1, I love this set. 2, you can really kind of use whatever 5 set you want, as long as it's sort of like a tanking set, okay? This happens to be one of the crafted tanking sets, and it's one of my favorites. We're using the White Strakes Retribution set. This set is amazing. I absolutely love this, and as a vampire, it helps a lot. So, great tanking set. Let me switch over to my dual wield bar because we have 2 White Strakes daggers, okay? 2 White Strakes daggers. So when I'm not using my bow bar, or sorry, when I'm not using my dual wield bar, the White Strakes is only, it only has the 3-item set going for it. When I switch it over to this bar, which is where I'm using most of the time, we get the 5-item set, okay? Because the 2 daggers need to be in your hands for them to work. So the White Strakes, I've got medium armor chest and medium armor feet. Everything else is light armor. I picked it like that because I liked how it looked. You're gonna probably want to do head and you know, epaulettes or shoulders or whatever the Warlock, but these 5 pieces you can kind of mix and match and do whatever you want. So 2 items. When you're wearing 2 items of White Strakes, you get 138 health. 3 items gives you another 184 spell resist, so more defense there. 4 items. This is great as a vampire. We now have another 12 health regeneration because our health regen is really, really slow as a vampire. We now have 12 extra health regen. Now this is the best part of this whole build, is this White Strike's Retribution as the 5 item set. So if the wearer's health drops below 30%, which it does, it happens a lot. It happens in PvE as well. If the wearer's health is below 30%, you gain a 984 point damage shield for 8 seconds. This effect can occur no more than once per 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds, if you drop below 30% health, you get this huge damage shield on you. Now, if I made these daggers legendary, so right now they're epic, which is purple. If I made them legendary, like this yellow here, it would be a damage shield of over 1,000. But right now, because these 2 daggers are epic, I need some more tempering alloy. I don't have enough, and I just don't want to spend money on it. I don't know. I wish I had more, but it would be an over 1,000 point damage shield. So yeah, that's the build, you guys. That is my build. I was gonna do some PvE demos and PvP demos to show you guys how the build works, but honestly, we're going on about 40 minutes now with this build, and that's way too long. Way too freaking long. I sort of explained this more for like, I know a lot of you guys probably don't play the game, at least that watch on my channel. So I tried to sort of explain it in a little bit more noob sense. Those of you that do play the game, you're probably like, dude, I know what these skills do. What are you saying? So I do apologize for that. But ZeniMax, if you happen to see this, I would love to have this build featured. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to show in relation to the build. Passives are the most important thing. I'm trying to work on these Undaunted passives now. They're really good. Vampire, get all the passives in there. Yeah, just get all your passives. It's the most important thing, really. And you're good to go. Get all the passives, all the passives. These Draconic Power are really good. I also like to use a lot of Earth and Heart abilities. You can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Earth and Heart abilities on this second bar. And that's because they're awesome. You gain 2 additional ultimate when activating Earth and Heart ability. You restore 5% stamina when activating Earth and Heart ability, so that's gonna help a little bit with stamina management. And Battle Roar is just awesome. But these 2 passes are really good. That's why I have a lot of these on my bar. Plus, I just like what the skills do anyway. Also, you notice I've never once unlocked Dark Talons. I've never used it. I've never needed to use it. I've never used it. I don't know. It's the one move that I just hate getting used against me in PvP as well. And I just want to be, I like to break away from the mold. Every DK uses Dark Talons. I'm not. So if you want to be unique, you can use my build. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had an absolute blast doing this for you guys. I'll show you this bat ulti if you've never seen it before. Summon some bats, yeah. Woo! It's a lot of fun. I like this build a whole heck of a lot though. It's really, really, really fun to use, and it's really unique. I'm really, really proud of it. And I don't know, I just absolutely love this game. I can't wait till 1.6. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys again next time. Peace. Aha, so that answers my question. So if you shift and then right click, I think you just heard a howl too. That was a howling sound. So if you right click on a normal villager, shift right click with the wolf spin in your hand, you're gonna hear that little like sound. That means that he's not a werewolf.